You're listening to RIAcast, a podcast of the Southwest Florida Real Estate Investment Association. RIAcast brings together a variety of real estate entrepreneurs from all over the world to share tips and ideas. The core purpose of the Southwest Florida RIA is to help members become more profitable and successful through networking, education, and empowerment. Here are your hosts, Jeff Tamarello and Michael Lyons.
I'm Jeff Tamarello. I am one of the directors of the Southwest Florida RIA. I'm joined by the other director, the esteemed MBA, Michael Lyons.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Top that, Mike.
That was well. That was quite the introduction, man. That was pretty good.
So we wanted to talk about a couple things. There is a new bill just signed in to actually make a landlord's life easier. What do you think of it, Mike?
Well, so the governor signed a bill. Again, get legal counsel on this. Don't base your decisions on this.
2 idiots on YouTube.
Yeah, about to say. But so the governor signed in where notifications can be given to tenants as long as both parties agree. This is our email address for correspondence, and in short, they sign an addendum agreeing to it. So it's not real difficult. It's actually brilliant. A lot of the running around we have to do as property managers, or when you have rental property, to post a notice, and it can be done simply with an email. And again, the caveat is, read it and get competent legal counsel on it. But it is a legal an addendum that states if you both parties agree to this process, but the only thing is at any moment you can cancel. They can opt out of it too. But for all kinds of notices, which is huge, because it is a time-consuming process to post notices, especially when if you're a property manager or you're an investor and you have a handful of properties, and if you have to legally post notices at 20 properties, that's a long day. So this is super time-saving, and I think it's fantastic. I mean, I think it's I think it's long overdue. From what it previously just. It's way overdue on what we've had to do in posting things. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, when we talked about this earlier today, I would 100%, I use a CRM that if I send an email via their page on the CRM, it tracks it. So not only is it legal, I can also get a read receipt if you use the right CRM.
Sure.
So you should be doubly covered there. But yeah, it's ironically, property managers might actually start monitoring their email, because if it gets bounced back, it's in the law. If it gets bounced back, it doesn't count.
Exactly. That's funny you said that, though.
And when you're a rep, you just set up an autoresponder that looks like a bounce back.
Yeah. We just gave him the loophole.
Already figured it out.
Well, so yeah, I got it. Yeah. No, I think it's brilliant. I think it's common sense. It's rational. We all communicate via text and email, and a document on your door shouldn't have to be the only process to make it legal. I mean, everything else we do, DocuSign, and we do stuff electronically, sign electronically, and accept emails as notice for other things. So I just think this is long overdue. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. So anytime a property manager can be more efficient in the line of work I'm in, I'm down for that. So, yeah.
So another interesting thing, we're talking about the rental market this week. I was talking to a guy who works in the service industry. At some point, there'll be buyers. And they're in one of the newer complexes in the Cape. And basically, when they went to give notice that we're moving out, they offered them an 18-month extension with 4 months free.
That's fantastic. If you're the tenant.
Yeah. I mean, like Mike and I will talk about what we're going to talk about before these. And I was like, it could be the most amazing poison pill the borrower, because, nobody that owns an apartment building that's a reasonably new loan origination and construction is feeling like really bullish, and unless they're calling their shareholders, and then you're of course bullish. But
Yep.
there's
Yeah.
got to be a little angst in there. So maybe we start building some poison pills into the leases. So if the bank tries to foreclose, they may just give up and give us an extension, extend and pretend, which is what's happening in that world right now. They're
You you just summed it up when you said extend and pretend. That's perfect for this. I mean, so 18 months, 4 months free, so a 14-month lease. Do you know when the free months are going to begin, or is it divided out throughout the whole time, or do you
I
know?
didn't really get that out of them because I didn't want to seem that creepy.
Yeah, yeah. Where do you live? What's your address? Let me see your lease.
Yeah, now I told you where the complex is. It's
Yeah,
off Pine Island, but that's pretty significant. And that's something you need to know if you're doing business in Southwest Florida right now.
Oh yeah. Well, that, and you think about it, like you said, the banks. Again, lending on a commercial complex like that versus residential is a totally different ballgame. But you've got 200 units, and let's say 30 or 40% have a lease like that or a lease extension like that. I mean, that's significant. That's a
Well,
lot
not
of
to
money.
mention tenants like to talk to each other, and they
Oh
all
yeah.
brag how they beat the landlord up. That's one
Oh
of
yeah.
the
Well, on the side note, if you got a duplex, you rent one side for 2,000, and then the market changes, and you're down to 1,700. As soon as you post that 1,700 online, the tenant next door is like, "So, when's my rent dropping? Because I'm not paying. I'll just move next door and pay 300." I mean, like they talk, man. There's no way around it.
That's
So
the one I say upside of a scattered single family portfolio. And that's pretty much about the only upside to it. 30 houses or 30 roofs, 30 insurance policies. It's a lot of brain damage.
it is.
And
It is.
but at least, they don't talk to each other.
They might get online and bash it, but they can't. They don't know where their neighbor's at. No, it's true. It's totally true. So I mean, anytime something goes down in an apartment complex, and again, not to knock apartment buildings and that investment side, we're not. That's not the purpose of this video. But apartment complexes are a totally different asset to own. I mean, I've owned a couple that weren't as big as these ones in Pine Island, but on Pine Island Road. But one bad apple in an apartment complex can really cause you multiple tenants to want to leave, and it just can be a huge issue. So that's a side note.
Ironically, it usually ends up the live-in manager.
Yeah, yeah, he's the biggest pain in the butt. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. So I mean,
On top of something we forgot to mention, that definitely needs to be a hat tip to Harry Heist for that bill. I know he championed it hard.
Yep.
Harry is really a blessing for us in Florida. He's a great guy. He spoke at the RIA a bunch of times. Gives away. I mean, we're all using some sort of his forms, except for Larry Nellens' forms is what kind of started them all. I mean, it's kind of hilarious. Like there's one land company that started way back in the day, and almost every other land buyer that I know is using some machination of that crappy one-page contract. It's funny how some forms just spawn in the industry and keep going.
Oh yeah, no, but Harry has evict.com. Give him a plug. I mean, evict.com is his website. It's incredible. Their information is the most legit. They stay up to date on what's going on with legislation and changes in the rental market and management, and for both apartments, single families. I mean, he's the best of the best in my opinion. He's great. I've been to a couple of seminars, and like you said, he's spoken at RIA. He is phenomenal at it. So great company. But yeah, because of him, and I'm sure a few others that were behind that bill to make it happen. That's why it happened. Again, it is so common sense to drive 45 minutes to post a notice when you can send an email and it accomplishes the same thing. For me, I can't believe it's taken this long, but very happy that it happened.
Part of me is also, this is a nice little test. Will you agree to have notices emailed to you?
Yep.
If it's no, you're going to bring it. Okay, you're a little more work. So I'm going to, we need to underwrite just a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, that's the weird thing too, is like several hundred units my company handles. And out of that, a very small percentage is, generally speaking, is problematic. But when they're problematic, I mean, they're problematic. They're the ones that are reaching out to the office about everything. And hey, the wind changed from east to west. Well, we have no control over that. Just stupid complaints and something like that. If someone were to balk at that, they email everything else. Why would they be against this? It's kind of silly. That would even be a problem. So yeah, this is great. I will immediately. I think it's first.
Screenshot text messages are admissible in court. So, why can't, it's a really old law that at some point needed to change, and it's kind of awesome that it changed.
Totally agree. No, totally agree. It's fantastic. It's great. And Harry Heist, again, credit goes to him, man. I'm sure he had a lot to do with that happening. And again, sharp guy, just an incredible attorney. He's fantastic.
So how about you, Mike? Any new exciting, since we're on the property management side talking today, any new exciting things?
Well, I don't know, exciting, but it's been a reality check for a lot of individuals who purchased over the last few years. The last couple of years, they now have that reassessed tax bill, property tax bill, and insurance became a nightmare. So, there's been some investors that have been I had a conversation with a guy the other day, never worked with him, but he's just closing on a property. And, we monitor the stuff regularly of what the prices are. And he wants to get a lot higher than what market is. And I said, man, that's just not reality. And, I could tell you I could do that, but I'd be lying to you. I mean, we can't, the market won't bear what you're looking for.
And you know what? Just don't do a background check or take a security deposit. I promise you'll get that.
Oh yeah, I mean they won't pay another month, but we'll evict them later. Yeah, but that's the only thing kind of newer in property management. I mean, rents. Everyone asks whether rents are doing. Rents, I think, are stable now, but they're not going up. They're not really trickling down anymore. They're just kind of stable, and maybe a more realistic of what our market can bear rent rise. I mean, rents were so high after COVID and hurricanes that I say so high. For our market, they were high, and they kind of came back down to reality and what the cost of living combined with what people make here can afford. And but when you were committed to getting that $2,300 a month, and in reality you're $1,900, that's $400 hurts, man, with a tax bill and an insurance.
Hey Mike, what's your best zip code you think for rental?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I have a best zip code, but one that would be easy to look at with
the most predominant zip code. Then.
Oh gosh, 33991 would be one of the Cape we have a lot of rentals in.
All right, we're going to go 14 to 1700. We're going to go 2 full baths. We're going to go 3 bedrooms, no pool, no waterfront. Do we want to do a year build or just go with it?
Go with it. No, rock with it. No, not
in the last 30 days. What's the zip code again?
33991.
There's only 2 in the last 30 days in the MLS that fit that.
Oh, wow. I'd change those parameters a little bit because there's definitely.
You know what? Let's just go Cape Coral.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Cape Coral, no.
3-2, 14 to. I'm going to go 14 to 16.
Okay.
14 to 16.
No. Not on the water, no pool.
Yeah. 31 long-term rentals. 2,000 is a median price, but that's a city water sewer house versus a not city water sewer. South Cape versus 10 feet to the Zimmel.
I think 18 to 1900 is reality for a 3-2 right now. It's newer in good shape. Part of the problem of those numbers, because you're right, you're looking at all the Cape, so it kind of depends on where you're at. But one thing I found too, though, is a lot of people have been using the go-to right now is Zillow. Less and less people are using MLS. Zillow, everyone and their mother looks at Zillow. So
the same time frame, but they're all looking at actives.
Yeah,
Zillow for the most part. Same time frame last year, there was 33 rented. 2,050.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was in a nosedive. It was 10% year over year, the year before that to last year.
Yep.
Now you're down a few percent.
Yeah. No, it's definitely changed.
I mean, it's still going down, but the rate of change is what matters and everything. I always laugh, 2019 taught me more, really the 2020 aftermath of it taught me more than 08. Because we were clearly heading into a recession and clearly heading into a slowdown in the real estate market. Yeah. Everything was starting to slow down. Everything was starting to dip. And then we locked everybody in their houses and, we all watched Tiger King and made banana bread. And before we knew it, real estate market was up 30% pretty quick. So, and where I was focusing really hard on the rate of change, I was watching the pending. So as I call it, the forward-looking numbers, pending. At least when it went pending today, you knew something happened today. So I was watching the pendings, and all of a sudden by mid-May, it was like, wow. And I I scaled our land buying business with two partners through that.
Yeah.
And at the time, we all looked stupid, and our wives were really questioning our sanity even more than what they normally did. And
That was already pretty high. That was
yeah,
already,
but when the
yeah.
market turned, we were in the position we had people we were talking to. All of a sudden, builders start giving us orders, and it was money printing time. So, and then that the forward looking numbers were what really helped make that happen. So, and what I learned out of that was focus on the rate of change. Do not focus. Everybody has that narrative. You're either a perma bear or a perma bull for the most part in real estate. We know people that, never been a better time to buy. And then there's the same guy that'll tell you, and I get buy when there's blood in the streets, but are you going to rent for 15 years until there's blood in the streets?
Yeah, that's the thing too.
I mean, it's, at this point, if you decided in 2012 that you were waiting for the next crash, you've been renting for 13 years.
Yep. Yep.
So,
but with what you just mentioned, which was awesome, what would you do it differently now that you've gone through it? Or would you have done anything differently?
I would have done I always say this, the ultimate play then was when we were locked down and the world looked like it was coming to an end, and, people were making their own weird masks and stuff. It was really glorious time,
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was chasing toilet paper and masks, and it'd go down and buy every DR Horton and Lennar closeout at a 2% interest rate that you could finance.
Yeah.
And then 2023 exit them. Every one of them exit them.
You would be a genius and pretty wealthy if you did that.
And the funny part is, like, if you go back to the last cycle, you sell everything you own mid 2006, everything. Sell your children, your car, sell everything you own. You'll buy them kids back as soon as they have to start feeding them. They'll drop them off. I big football playing boys, man. It was feeding them boys was rough, but and then you buy gold.
Yeah. And you would have, everyone thought you're crazy if you'd have done that.
Yeah, you would have been Baker's acted. If you came home to your family and say, hey, I sold my portfolio of 10 rentals, I sold the boat, I sold the RV, I sold pretty much everything we own, and I just bought gold. Yeah. They're definitely calling the Ruth Cooper Center and putting
but you would have looked brilliant after the market corrected.
But that's the one thing that I've learned in history. Generally, the most insane counter thing is to play, but boy, you better be right if that's your only play, because Nicholas Talib Tassim, one of my absolute favorite authors, Fooled by Randomness, The Black Swan, Anti-Fragile. I mean, he's got a lot of books. He's got one concept that he just drills down and down and down, but I actually cannot handle his politics, but I absolutely love his intellect, if that makes sense. Like, if him and I went and had a couple glasses of wine, it would turn into a shouting match, probably, if we got into politics. But
let me know. I want to watch that if that happens. But
yeah, I would love to have a couple glasses of wine with him. But he's got a barbell theory. Well, it's not just his, but he's a big proponent of the barbell theory, where he puts like a vast majority of his money in like T-bills. And then he takes the rest of it and puts it in the most speculative, crazy thing he can, so that when one of them hits, it's amazing. Like, his funds do really well in 2008, do really well in 2020, 2021. His funds crushed. But then you've got really mediocre returns in between the two, if that makes any sense. But, I would not have, where the T-bill position is, I would not have stuck that into the speculative, which is essentially what that would have been.
That's interesting. Well, let me ask you this, another just question for kind of food for thought. We've both done real estate for a long time, 20 plus years. A lot of realtors go to our meeting, maybe watch this video. What would you tell the next time it's rocking and rolling in real estate? What would you tell the realtors that they don't follow? What advice do they not follow, or they could follow and be successful at it, that they don't do? I got a few ideas on that.
Well, I mean, to start with, when it's really busy and you're making a bunch of money, you can still make your own lunch or bring it to the office.
Yep.
You don't need that new financed boat. You don't need that brand new financed car. I can remember a friend of mine, trying to explain to me that a $1,300 a month lease was good for tax purposes on a car.
No.
I was like,
what's good for tax purposes and income? No payment. Like that's much
But
better.
I mean, when times are good, stack it.
Yeah.
More importantly, be honest with people too. What's more important is the people in your life in your database than whatever two extra sales you got hoodwinking somebody in to buy something. But the downtimes are what matters. And ironically, everybody spends more money on marketing when the market's hot, and then they pull back when the market gets soft. And it really should be inverse. It's easier to capture dollars in a hot market. You really don't have to market as much. But then when the market turns, start spending your money.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
and you've got to, and you know, to succeed through a downturn, you first have to survive the downturn. And I know the Realtor Association was really slow in calling the brokerages to let them know who didn't renew their dues, like months behind where they normally are, which tells me they were a little inundated with it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm
So
sure.
there's a lot of people dropping out of the industry. Your industry, Mike, what you do is about to be busy because when the sales drop off, everybody becomes a part-time property manager.
You know what? It's interesting you say that. So I agree wholeheartedly with all that you just said. I'd also say a conversation, maybe another video one day we'll do is what do you own? That's a conversation we can have another time, I guess. But I had a conversation today with an owner who wants to change management companies. And again, I would think, I don't know, but I would think this individual that's doing management for them clearly doesn't know what they're doing and they're starting out relatively new. When he canceled management, the response from this property manager was, well, my management agreement requires 60 days notice, and those are my tenants. I'm giving them 60 days notice to move out. You can find new tenants. That happened today. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? They said you? Yeah. So, and then he sends me a copy of the manager. I said, send me a copy of the manager. You're just curious to see what it says. Like, what are they coming up with this? There's nothing in it, obviously, about them being their tenants, nor is that even, reality. And then it was a 30-day, their management agreement says 30 days notice to cancel. So they're requiring 60 days. And then they're asking their current, it's a duplex, their current tenants to move because they're canceling management.
Well, that property management agreement, you are a single agent of the owner.
Yep. 100%.
You can't do that as a single agent.
No.
I mean, there's that's a meeting we should have to where people should really understand. First of all, the liabilities as a single agent of somebody else, but more importantly, the liabilities that you could have as a single agent of somebody else. If your single agent goes out and does some dumb stuff, you can be liable in some cases.
100%. When I heard that, and she put it in writing, I say she, I shouldn't have said she, he or she, who knows, put it in writing, and I'm like, this manager just indicated you can't intentionally harm anyone.
You're their single agent. You're there to promote their cash flow up until the moment that you're not. And she still got 30 days where she's technically managing the properties.
100%. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like so I saw he put in the email to her, I request that you don't give notice to those tenants to move because that would financially harm me. And that was some verbiage put in there on purpose. Because
that's the way, and he's absolutely accurate. But that's a single agency unless they've got some weird wrinkle to the property management agreement, and
they don't. Yeah, they don't. And I read it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't. Again, to go back to what you said, when the market turns and sales go down, a lot of people jump into other niches in the real estate business and attempt to try it. And again, some are successful. I found most aren't.
Is this a broker or a sales associate?
I looked up the company. It's a broker that put that in there. I couldn't believe it.
It wasn't a lot of times it'll be a sales associate because they don't know.
Yeah, exactly. But
they should know, but they don't know.
So a broker did it, and not only that. I've never heard of the company before. We've been around in our area for a long time. So, you know, the bigger companies for the most part. I've never heard of this company before. Nothing against them. I don't know anything about them, but I saw that and I thought, oh my gosh, I would reword that, apologize, and do the right thing. Because if not, you get a lawsuit in your hands. And they would easily win. I was just like, that was dumb.
No, that's DBPR worthy right there.
Yeah.
I don't ever advocate snitching, but that's DBPR worthy right there. 100%.
Yeah,
you're a single agent of the owner. You just cannot do that.
I was just like, wow, that is that goes against what we're kind of trying to accomplish here. And one thing too, if someone's going to cancel, whether it be a listing or a management agreement or whatever it is in real estate, the wisest thing to do, if you conduct yourself professionally, even in a cancellation, that goes a long way. I mean, you bump into them and, wherever, or you have any kind of interaction with them again in the future, it wasn't this ugly litigation threatened, situation. It was, hey, it didn't work out, and I hope, how you doing? Like, it's nothing, there's nothing, no bad vibes, no bad energy there. And such how you should handle any kind of cancellation or any termination of a relationship or, working relationship like that. I was blown away. But when I read that message, I thought, she just put in writing, wow. Yeah, it was interesting, man. It was interesting. So
it's that moment where you sit back and go, how do I not have so much more money?
Yeah, when that happened, I was like, wow. Yeah, oh yeah. Well, I just found too, like, what we do for a living, you have to know the business. You have to be relatively smart, but you really just have to be willing to work and be rational about it. And that kind of makes you really good at your job. Like, anyone I've seen this business that's successful at it works their butt off. It's not a part-time gig. They're constantly involved in what the market's doing and changing. Updates like this, that Harry Heist mentioned about, or that he was behind on getting these changes for notifications, all these things. You just got to work hard and stay on top of your profession. You can do fine. You can make good money. Even in a down market, you can do well. But it's the kind of the fake, or the one that takes on all the debt crap that they don't need, and they're kind of flashy. Those usually don't do well, especially.
So many people execute a business model that's essentially premised, you have a complete cycle, and so many do really well right here, and that's it. And they don't understand any of the rest of it, particularly the value side, because it's kind of almost like stocks. It goes up, but it's never quite a sine wave. It's more of like a shoulders and a head, and then shoulders, and then it goes down. And then as you swoon into the correction phase, in every valley, there's a ditch. And that's where the doomers will tell you should buy every time, but it's so hard to time that ditch, with the rate of change, if you watch when it starts a couple factors start coming in line, then maybe you pull the trigger, but it's really hard to do that, particularly if you're a young couple trying to buy a house, renting for 12 years.
How long are you going to wait to get in the game?
Well, how much did you leave on the table with the deductions and all the other stuff? And with this, we have a backdrop of financial repression. We have to print our way out of this 26 trillion currently in debt. So while you'll have the cyclical ups and downs, the secular is they're going to print their way out of this. And I'm not saying that means you should have got an FHA loan in 2021. At the height of the market, where the builders were allowing their list price to be the beginning of the bidding. At that point, that's a really smart time to rent.
Yeah, that's when you should have done it. Now would be a good time. I would say a good time to buy is the right word to use. But if you're a first time home buyer, with what these builders are offering, you can pretty good deal.
It just depends on your life and how much money you have, what you're buying. Sat with first-time home buyer who's been renting for a while and getting antsy, and he's looking at very cheap homes that seem like a good idea until we got a couple insurance quotes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whatever you're saving in that mortgage interest, you're paying in the insurance for sure. But there's some areas of the county that are cheaper that somehow pay a little more in taxes. And that could be a heck of a video too.
Oh yeah, no, we do that. I got approached by someone in the group yesterday. Speaking of a buying opportunity, this is more investment related, but in a condo down by good old Fort Myers Beach, the owner was willing to. This is what I recall from the conversation. Owner finance with not a very big chunk down, and then a very huge amount. Oh, two things. $500 is going to the principal, and then $1,300 is a boat monthly boat lift fee to be in the association. You have your own boat lift there, and all
right, I'm in now.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait, what do you got? No, but I'm sorry. And then the cost of it just didn't make any sense. He had to get like $2,400, $2,500 a month for it to then make sense as an investment. And but he was like, man, owner finance, just excited about it. I'm like, you need to look, if he's willing to offer such a good deal, find out why. what's going on here, really? So, I mean, the unit flooded, during the storm. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainties that hasn't been involved in yet. I would say you need to be careful about this, man. It's not as good as it seems. And again, insurance, taxes.
They're still trying to figure out how they're going to deal with that milestone report.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So I mean, there's just so many where like if he's willing to give you such a good deal, there's a reason. So find out what that reason is before you pull the trigger.
I mean, what you're talking about though, Mike, you're what, 10 minutes from Show Creek? That's really good fishing.
It's not a bad gig. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can head down to Picnic Island. There's some good trout beds.
So if it really depends on what your priorities are, this might be the perfect place for me or you, man. This sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, all we're going to do is put fishing poles and refrigerators and an ice machine inside of it.
That's right. That's right. And a fillet deck outside. And yeah, so it's already, but no, weird market that we're in. Good. A lot of things are happening. Although I don't know. What do you think? You're going to keep on going down?
I think it's going to go down till it doesn't. That's the most terrible answer ever. But at some point, what I'm watching when the like we were talking before the thing, I showed you how manufactured homes so far in April, the average price is down 12% year over year. Sales count just turned up 2%. Wow. So 79, and there's still some more to come in. There's still more that are going to come in. I usually start looking at the data now so I can think about it, but I don't put any weight on it till at least after the 10th. The Realtor Association, if you'll notice, they put it out after the 15th. And nobody knows realtors like the Realtor Association. So they're realtors are realtors. It's,
hey, we're realtors. We can knock them.
Yeah, we're both brokers. So trust me, we are allowed to knock them. But when I look at that, I mean, what I'm watching is, as we start to get significant price pressure, and I mean, median price was down 6.6% so far this year for April versus April. Average, which is an indication of the top of the market's down 7%. That cash percentage still there though, 46 last year, 44 this year. So, and I mean, short sales are up 300% from 0 last year to 3 so far this year.
300% is a huge jump. So keep that in mind.
But when I'm looking at the whole totality of it, like single families are down 6% year over year, and the in price and in sales counts. So if you get the prices walked down a little more, people buy. I mean, I'm starting to see where when the prices hit a certain point, there are buyers. And that was very not 2007 and early 2008. There were no buyers until like March of 2008. We jumped up, and that was against that March of 07, which was really nasty, so that wasn't really a whole lot to talk about. But as of right now, when I dumped about an hour ago, there's 1,920 sales for this April we just passed.
Wow.
So almost 2,000 sales.
But in comparing the other market, 2007, 2008 market, distressed property, we really don't have much of that, right? I mean,
I think we had 72 foreclosures in April.
And
74. I haven't put that report out. It'll probably be after the luncheon, but yeah, it's 74. I mean, it's just not wake me up when it's 1,000. I mean, that's why we're only doing it.
22, 20, we had 22, 2,300 back in the day.
I think 2685, something like that was the peak.
Wow. So yeah.
But I mean, it went just vertical for a while. And, it just is what it is. And once we're in the like 200, 300 range, I'll start looking. I know there's a lot of talk about all these FHA loans, all these perma bears on Twitter. So many people get their science from engagement farmers, basically. They get on Twitter and they read, and I always laugh because, like, we make fun of Nick Jarrell the most. He's that, we're all going to die. And, he's called 28 of the last 2 crashes or 28 of the last 1 crash. But if you can get through the clickbaity headlines, and that's about the first 2 minutes of him fulfilling the thumbnail and the headline, because he's engagement farming and trying to get subscribers for his app, which isn't terrible. No. But his data is not bad once you get past the engagement farming part to where he fulfills what he promised them to get them to click on the video. The data is not terrible, but his take on the data is very reactionary because he has to, because that's how he pays his bills.
Yep.
No, I'm monitoring stuff because this is what I do with my money. It's totally different than if I was trying to make a living to go on YouTube and Facebook and try and get those engagement checks. I mean, you're never gonna be like, well, we need to wait until October and then we'll figure it out. Nobody's going to click and be excited about that. They want to be able to, a certain percentage of the population needs to be able to go and tell everybody, gotcha, it's coming. I called it. I've been saying since 2015 to get out of this market.
Yeah. 10 years later. Well, you're funny too. The title of this video should be 300% increase in short sales in Lee County.
It's true.
Yes,
It would actually drive engagement, but
those are the facts.
yeah. But that the manufactured homes, I mean, it's the perfect time to jump up. And then on top of that, we kind of had a late Easter, so that helps too to have a good April.
Sure.
So, I mean, that told me there are still 55 and up retirees that are still looking because primarily most of those are 55 and up.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I'm looking at like I've got one agent that's he's the number one agent in Six Lakes and by a lot. And I'm watching prices come down in there to where there's a certain price point of which, it just there's no use even trying unless you're in this certain strike point.
Sure.
But it's going to be an interesting, long, hot summer. On the bright side, the bait's in.
Yeah. Bait's in the flats already. White bait. Yeah, we talk about fishing in this here too, everyone. So and we love
bait. Yeah, bait's already in, which is a good thing. I can go out to eat.
Yeah.
I can walk in a restaurant and not wait till tomorrow to sit down. That's exciting.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I still think based upon all we talk about, but living here, it's just an incredible place to live. So, I mean, people are going to keep on coming.
I'm going to do a chart of availability of large pilchards to average price trends in Lee County.
I would watch that in a heartbeat. That's interesting stuff, man. No, I love it here though. I just think, in January when we're on a boat and up north they're shoveling snow, kind of hard to be bummed out. It's pretty awesome. So
yeah,
can't.
Anyway.
Well, good. Well, no, it's a good video. Jeff, if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do
that? Shoot me an email, jeff.southwestfloridaria@gmail.com.
And that's acronym, southwestfloridaria.com.
Yeah, jeff.swflreia@gmail.com. That's kind of my personal email. Every wholesaler on the planet somehow has it though too. Same. But yeah, shoot me an email. I'd be happy to collaborate, talk, joint venture, whatever.
Sure. No, same. Yeah, my email is mike@lionsrealestateinc.com, LYONS. Real estate spelled out inc.com. So yeah, reach out. Happy to discuss business whenever and look forward to the next time. So
awesome. Enjoyed it, Mike.
Thanks, man. You too.
This concludes this edition of RIAcast. Be sure to subscribe to receive our next episode. You can also subscribe at our website, www.swflreia.com. See you at a meeting soon. Please let us know if you have a suggestion for a future episode.